Good evening and welcome to our episode 42. As always, we will start with our gratitude attitude. So, if you would please gently close your eyes, take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take one more deep breath. As you breathe out, relax all your muscles. Take another deep breath. This time, completely relax yourself. Now, think of one thing that you are thankful for that happened in the past 1 week. Once you have identified that, think about why you are thankful. And now let's set it free. If you are by yourself, say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you are with someone, tell it to each other. Okay. So we started looking at six perfections last week. Why are we looking at these six perfection, you might ask? The function of this six perfection is to make our lives smoother and with less friction. So today we'll continue with this series and look at concentration. What is concentration? Before we look at that, let's look at what it is not. Concentration is not an act of will to force ourselves to focus on something or other. That's not it. It's not like we say, let's focus on this phone. It's actually to eliminate that which does not belong. Very important thing to know. Let me give you an example. All of you have, at some point or another, tried concentrated orange juice, or at least bought concentrated orange juice. A concentrated orange juice is just removal of water from juice, isn't it? So, meaning we are removing water from the juice because water does not belong in the juice. That's concentration. So, there are several components of concentration. The first one is the stability for mental capacity. We talked about this before, that the human mind is incapable of multitasking. What we call multitasking is rapidly switching from one task to another. But it's definitely not multitasking. Like when you have a fan, ceiling fan, right? And when we see a fan moving, the blades can seem like one, because they are moving so fast. Similarly, multitasking is an illusion. Anything other than what you should be doing is a distraction. Perfect example, texting and driving, right? People die because of that. Part of concentration is not about narrowing our focus. That's the other thing to keep in mind. A lot of people think like if they narrow it, that's concentration. Because when we narrow our focus, we lose the context. So an aspect of concentration is actually to zoom out, right? So you can see bigger picture, you can see the whole thing. When you talk about someone who is not with you, and someone mentions a bad quality of that person who is not with them, the mind zooms in, right, as to why that person is not good. And all of a sudden, that person becomes the worst person in the world in our mind. When we like or dislike something, we tend to justify it. When we try a new thing, a lot of times we judge before we even try it. So it's not the object that is good or bad, but our feeling towards it, which makes it good or bad, correct? Once our feelings are set, we'll follow the feeling as opposed to keeping in context. Perfect example is when one falls in love. When they first fall in love, this person can do no wrong. They are not looking at context, but just their feelings. Some time goes by, and now they have a few arguments. All of a sudden, the feeling towards that person changes. And now they cannot do anything right. Everything they do annoys that person. Again, no context at all, right? No person is all good or all bad at all the time. But it's the lack of context that makes things difficult. Another element is to keep an eye on important versus urgent. And I think we briefly touched this a few sessions ago. We respond to emails all day long without regard to whether it's important or not. Urgent tends to distract our concentration from important. Think about that, right? Just because urgent doesn't mean it's important. We discussed this before as well, that often we get hung up on urgent matters, matters of the moment, if you will, right? Rather than keeping our focus on the larger goal. Another aspect of concentration is stability for personal benefit. So relaxation is very important for our personal benefit. Tension is distracting. When there is tension in any part of our body, it requires our attention. For example, if there is pain, our mind keeps going to that part of the body as opposed to being here and now. It's important to relax. Relaxation includes relaxation of the body as well as relaxation of the mind. When we are tense, we trigger, we're built this way. We'll trigger in ourselves a fight, flight, or freeze response. We need to make decisions consciously rather than making reactive decisions. Because when you're tense, you tend to make a reactive decision. And reactive decisions sometimes, not sometimes, often actually tend to be a mistake. Always perform a check to see if you are relaxed. We as a society don't value relaxation. It's very important for our long-term health. Interest is another quality that is needed for concentration, and this gets lost a lot of time. When we look at something, we don't value differences between experiences. Sometimes we think that we already done something or experienced something. Been there, done that. We call it, say it all the time, right? But there are always subtle differences, right? Minute differences. If we think it's the same, we are not paying attention. And if we are not paying attention, we are not concentration. right? And to pay attention, we must develop interest. So if we cultivate interest, it will increase our concentration. Because interest prevents us from distraction, we need to develop a beginner's mind, if you will. A beginner's mind, if you think about it, they look at everything right now because there's curiosity in a beginner's mind. They want to learn. It's always interested, right? That means if you're always interested, that means you're present as opposed to thinking about something in past or in the future. So interesting thing to wrap up about concentration is that one, there is no such thing as multitasking, right? It's not about narrowing the focus. It's actually more about looking at the whole context. It's about important as opposed to urgent. It's about relaxation and it's about interest. If we have all of these qualities together, right, we can develop concentration. One more quality I didn't mention is confidence. Confidence in the certainty of one's path. If not, you will not be putting in your effort and lose concentration. Once you choose to take a path, remove all self doubt. Every action is beneficial. This is interesting, right? When you try something, what happens? Either you accomplish that, what you wanted, right? Or you learn from the experience. It's not a waste. Don't let outside influence make your decisions and break your confidence. So, as you can see, concentration is one of the important perfections. And if we understand and apply it correctly, it is of great benefit. So, in today's meditation, we'll use a technique called black and white meditation. We've done this before. It helps us relieve stress from our life. At first, as always, we will settle down in our hearts. Then we'll imagine that all of our stress is gathered at our heart in the form of thick, dark smoke. We'll breathe in light and breathe out that thick smoke of stress. That's the plan. If you are ready, let's begin. So let's get into our meditation posture. Sit in a cross-legged position if you can. If you are in a chair, just make sure your legs are straight. Make sure his back is upright. Gently close your eyes. Keep your mouth just a little bit open. Put your palms in your lap, right over left. Thumbs gently touching. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath. This time, completely relax yourself. Bring your attention at your nostrils. Focus on the sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air as you breathe in. Feel slightly warmer air as you breathe out. Continue to focus on your breath on your own for about a minute or so. Bring your attention at your heart. Imagine everything that happened before this moment melts into light and disappears. Things that have not yet happened are not real anyway. So it's just this moment. Be present in this moment. Enjoy the peace this moment brings. Let peace of this moment build the peace of the next moment. Now, imagine all your stress, all your bodily stress, mental stress, emotional stress, gathers at your heart in the form of thick black smoke. Just imagine. Now imagine as you inhale, you inhaling white, bright light, and you exhale all that thick black smoke gathered at your heart. Breathe in light and breathe out stress in the form of thick black smoke. Breathe in white, bright light and breathe out all your stress. If a thought comes, just bring your focus back to breathing light and breathing out stress. If your thoughts take you somewhere else, please come back. Bring your focus to sensation of your breath for about 10 breaths and then begin your black and white meditation. Breathe in light. Breathe out all your stress in the form of thick black smoke. Enjoy this peace at your heart for the last minute or so on your own. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Uncle.
When you say we need to concentrate and there are different qualities or the attributes that we need, like uh, you try to differentiate between urgent and important, or you probably try to start as a beginner so that you pay attention to every smallest details.
Right, interest. Yeah,
And you don't take it granted basically because I've done it 10 times.
right.
Because every job is a little different even though they are similar.
Yep.
I think the main reason of losing concentration, I feel that is to some extent is sort of the overconfidence. That I've been doing this for 5 years, I know how to do it.
That's right. Been there, done that, right?
Yeah. And then you miss some minor details, and that's where you lose your concentration.
Not only minor details, Uncle. Sometimes people miss the whole forest, actually. I'll give you one example. This is an old example. In 1998, we were looking to make an acquisition uh, of an existing company in Florida. Company was in financial trouble. I was a newcomer. I was in business for 3 years, 4 years tops. And I go meet with these people. We had agreed on preliminary numbers. So I go meet with them and I just asked them, how do you do your quality control? And they started showing me X, Y, and Z, right? Took them 2 hours to explain something to me. And then I said, how about this, right? And that was like uh, 4 times more efficient, right? It could be done in, one-fourth the time by their people, and the quality is double, right? So it's essentially, and instead of learning from that for free practically, right? They're like, well, we've been doing this since 1972. And I say, that's the problem, right? World's changed, technology has changed since 1972. It's 1998 now. And that's the key, like you said, that overconfidence that comes from it. And these things tend to be ingrained in my experience in large corporations, uh, and also in large government organizations, right? Because somebody says, hey, that's how it's done, and then that's it, that's how it's done. Nobody questions that. It comes from overconfidence. So you're right.
It's and to some extent, the people who are working on that problem or system,
Right.
they have been not given the full picture. They've been just given a terminal and say, just do this, and whatever answer comes, that's it, basically.
And that's the other point about concern is the context, right? They are not giving the full context, right?
Yeah,
They are giving this narrow set of rules and narrow set of things they have to check without looking at the overall picture,
yeah,
right? That
yeah.
that's not my job, that's the somebody who's sitting next to me's job, right? And if we both look at it together, maybe there's a better answer to that.
And the main reason is that number one, that they have never told to do anything beyond the narrow focus,
Yep.
and they have never bothered to ask anybody that, hey, what is happening before and after this, what I do.
Yep.
Like they do not try to understand the whole chain of operation or working or anything like that. And most of the time, if you call somebody, they say, this is what I get on my screen.
Yeah. And uncle, that is changing. See what that happens when people used to have long you know term jobs, meaning they were at the same job for 10, 15, 20 years, right? That tends to happen. But these young kids I see who change jobs every 2 years, and they have no uh, loyalty, which I don't blame them at all. But because of that, they are questioning things compared to your generation and my generation.
Yeah.
These kids are questioning things, which is good thing, because somebody has to figure out why we are doing it for last 20 years, because nobody even remembers sometimes why
I,
we are doing what we are doing, right?
I 100% agree, and that is the reason that they come out much better, brighter, and shinier than many of us
Yeah.
and many other people that they just simply follow that rules. This is what I've been told to do. That's what I'm doing, and there's no
Yep.
mistake. That's it, basically.
Yep. And then the culture of the technology companies have changed also, in a sense that even though they're big companies, the Microsofts and Apples of the world, they run it as a small unit, right? A 6, 8, 10 people unit, and that one person is responsible for that whole unit. So because of that, even though they are larger companies, they have a entrepreneurial spirit, if you will, right? Which in you won't find that in Johnson and Johnson, or Excel Energy and whatnot.
I think the main reason probably the concept has changed from technology to a profit center.
Yeah.
That earlier it was more like a technology was more valued rather than right now. It's probably available either in the books or on internet, or there are people who can tell you or teach you. But making it more profitable or running it more successful is more critical.
Plus the cost of technology is down too, right?
Agree, agree.
you know
Cost of
right
living
now.
because it's freely available.
Yeah, and it's you can go online and find something. It
That,
wasn't
that's
as
the
easy.
reason that you can always go to Wikipedia or you do Google search and you can find out how to make the things or what to do basically.
Yeah. So one interesting thing actually happened today. Chiti came to me before we left, and she says, Dad, I found that they have something called Cigna University, which is their training programs and whatnot. And she found this one video which is how Cigna makes money, right? I was like, this is so cool that and I told her, out of 71,000 employees they have, less than 70 people have probably watched that video, right? But that's a basic thing that, hey, I work for this company. How do we make money, right? And they had a nice video, put it out there. So it's those that information is so accessible today,
Yes.
right? Compared to it was, even 10 years ago, it wasn't that easy. I mean, we used to try Wikipedia in our business, and it was not as easy as it is today, right? With FAQs and this and that. So
No, I do agree. But anyway, let's see.
okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to stop recording.